Um, you can. I'm. This channel is Righteous Scales, and this is about weighing topics in the balance to kind of get the the highs and the lows of life. And most of it, the topics are about spiritual topics. And this particular one is dealing with the invisible part of self. And so I was like, okay, well, let me think about what I deal with sometimes is the fact that you can see on the news or social media outlets where they're talking about different things that's going on. And I was like, I believe people get charged up when they can make people scared. Because I just can't figure out uh the bullying and the fighting and the the other stuff that's going on, unless it has to do with we want blah 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 to be afraid. That's the only thing I can get out of that. And so I just was like, okay, well, let me look at the anatomy of fear and position different questions so that I could understand anxiety and how to look for a safe place to be in my heart and in my mind. Like, I'm not, when I tell you I'm not interested in just living in fear, I need to understand it. That's that's what I mean. And so the solutions, just going straight to it, the solutions to fear can vary, depends on the individual, specific type of fear, and the severity of the fear. And here are general solutions that can help you and me to either alleviate it or work through it. I'm gonna go through identifying the source of fear. That's the first thing to do is to identify it. Where is it coming from? When did this start? Have you noticed it for maybe years, weeks, months? How long has this fear been impacting you? Or how long has it been infecting you? That type of thing. I know fear can be beneficial, but long term fear, there's got to be some cons to that. Uh, where is this fear coming from? Is it the news or social media? Like, are you listening to different people? And these YouTubers with these, um the headlines, the propaganda is real. Like, it's almost like they believe in doom and gloom too, just like what they seeing on the news or any type of news reports. And I'm like, I can understand the pessimism. I do understand the urgency, the warnings, the alarm. But at some point in the game, it's like, again, back to righteous scales, balancing that out and righteousness and just do it for yourself sometimes is before you posting something on social media. Now, I personally believe that fear is a drug, and I believe that it's there are fears that can benefit you to keep you out of, dangerous situations. That's urgent or immediate, but there's other fears that's so presumptuous, and you're imagining these things that all the negative future possibles that can happen, and the drug of cortisol, with the hormone, the chemical, I'm sorry, of cortisol. too much of it is dangerous. And when I looked into cortisol, I was like, okay, well, we do have it, but if you have too much going around your heart, I mean, it could take you out. So, deliverance is something that I'm looking for, deliverance from fear and anxiety. And I'm talking about the type of fear that is perpetually going on in your head like a loop. Um, that's what I'm talking about. So, it was interesting, some of the things that I found about the fear and all of these different types of fears. Very interesting. It looks like, for me, it looks like I may have had some fantasies that maybe the world should always be peaceful and never full of wrath, and the different things that are going on a worldwide scale, globally. It's like, um, somehow it's like, why are they fighting and having this fantasy that things should continually go on? And I know what the Bible says about end time events. There'll be wars, rumors of wars, there'll be pestilence, famine, and sword, and people dying, and all types of things. And it seems bleak, really. And I think that's the reason why many people stay away from Revelations, because you can get into your head space and you're like, what can I do? And it's almost like there's some type of unspoken suggestion, or like, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen to everyone. That's kind of like, you it's a gamble. You don't know who it's going to happen to, right? So what I decided is that in the time when people's hearts will fail them because of fear, not everybody will be traumatized, or not everyone will have their heart fail them because of fear. Some people actually will be able to make it through this. And this is what I looked into. Uh, my expectations, that I choose to pray about things that are beyond my physical power. So when it gets to the point to where it's like, I can't go talk to these leaders, these world leaders in person, um, at least I don't think I can. But what I can do is pray. And do I believe that prayers work? I absolutely do, because I've actually experienced some things in the past that have gave it's given me the conclusion and the comfort to know that these things do work. Prayer does work, and some people might be like, oh, you know, revelation end time is going to happen whether you pray or not. You can't pray it away. Nobody said that I'm trying to pray it away. What I'm saying is that I can cover myself and pray for things that I need, because I don't recall seeing in the Bible where it says, just because you see prophecy coming to pass, stop praying because it's going to be inevitable, right? I never read that, so I choose to pray. And the other reason, or the other solution, I would say, to um, dealing with your fear and anxiety would be to do breathing exercises, practice relaxation, um, and stretching and calming the body down and the mind. It does reduce fear. And one thing that I do know is that I've done deep breathing before, and it really does. It's like you have a vagus nerve going down, and you're deep breathing and you're rubbing your ear and pulling down on it. You're giving yourself time to reset. your thoughts. That's the purpose of deep breathing. Well, that's one of the purposes. You're slowing down and giving yourself control. And so, one of the fruit of the spirit is self control. Being able to control yourself. Your thoughts are racing, and then you're trying to figure out what should I do next. If you're not sober minded because you're racing, your mind is racing, and you realize, oh, my mind is racing, stop, pause for a minute, and then just close your eyes and do three, maybe three, up how many you can handle. Slow breathing from your stomach and your chest, using both of them at the same time, um, in and out as deep as you can go, and then just kind of pause, right? That's what I have to do for myself. And I had to do it recently when I was being trained on this job that they wanted a lot. And I just had to just pause and just deep breathe and rub my ear. And I'm telling you, it helped me to not be overwhelmed. And I think that's a component that's inside of anxiety. It's like when you feel overwhelmed by the things that people are asking of you to do, then that's a technique that you can use. Um, Also, I was looking at this. I attended a lecture um, some years ago, maybe like 4 years ago, and I got some understanding about meditation. And meditation, according to this video with Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, what I looked into for myself, plus this video, um, and plus, I did watch it again, but I attended in person. But one of the things that I got from it is that when you are meditating, you can repeat some things out loud. It's kind of like you're chanting or talking to yourself. And some people might be like, oh, don't talk to yourself. But I do talk to myself. And I don't have a problem with that because I do know that I need to get things cleared out of my mindset, out of my heart space. So I'm not holding anything in real time for days and weeks. That's how grudges get built up in me. I don't know about other people, but for me, that's how I get my healing kind of quickly. And that way I can sleep at night and I'm not worried about who's talking about me, who don't like me, because I usually try to deal with issues when they happen or situations with people when they occur. At least I try to. Or I try to think about it and talk to myself if I don't think that there is a good outcome to talk to a person and, and give them time to kind of get themselves together, but give myself time as well. So if I need to talk it out, and I realize how powerful talking is, powerful as far as confessing and testimonies, and powerful as far as you getting healing when you go to a therapy. You have when you go, I'm sorry, a therapist or a psychologist. You have to talk to these people, and when you're talking, you're in your testimonies and or your confessions of what you've done over life, how you got there, um, what you've experienced. When they talk back, that's how you get your healing. And that's the reason why I believe that meditation, the way that in the form of singing and talking to yourself and repeating the scriptures over and over again that actually apply to what you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with anger, or you go to the Bible and feed your mind and then repeat that and say, this is what I need to do, as far as speaking it with your mouth and saying, okay, this is what the Bible says about anger. And so this is how I'm going to deal with my anger, because I have examples of how to deal with anger from the Bible, and also having examples of what I can do if I need to get rid of my anger or manage my anger. And there are certain practical things that you can practice in the Bible to meditate on, or repeat, or recite, or muse over, thinking and pondering over different scripture passages, and also um, dealing with the complaint that is just getting it all out. Just getting it all out of your mindset and saying it exactly how you feel. And if you have to talk low or high, doesn't matter. Some people call it venting, and that's what is blowing off steam, just getting it all out. But that is in fact meditation, and so that's what I do. That's how I meditate. All of the things that I just discussed inside of just get it all out. So that's one way to kind of give your mind the the feeling of relief. Um, I looked into something some years ago, and I was curious about if I could find it again. I was trying to find um this link or website where it was doing science experiments on prayer and the effects of reducing crime. So I looked into it, and I actually found meditation being used to reduce crime as well. So I was like, interesting. Let me put this up here as well. So I did read a little bit of the article, and that was interesting as well. So it was saying that it's given the strength of these results, their consistency with the positive results of previous research, the grave human and financial cost of violent crime, and the lack of other effective and scientific methods to reduce crime, policymakers are urged to apply this approach on a large scale for the benefit of society. And you did have some skeptics that were like, well, this might be a little woo woo. And they couldn't really place if it was just coincidence, but the people that were actually meditating and the drop on the crime rate, it was like, well, we do want to continue with the coincidence. We do. We want to continue with this coincidence because at least the crime rate is going down. At least we can see that it's helping uh, people to be safe. And the the other one I did find was actually about prayer. So they've done some studies on prayer as well, and some of them have been like assigning a certain amount of people to a police department and assigning people to certain police officers. And what they they found is that um, when you're afraid of violent crimes or any type of things that's going on, you'll start looking for solutions. And so this particular police officer was Christian, and what they did was they not only prayed in the police station, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember that right. Uh, no, I'm sorry. The people that were like the sheriff, the main person that was over all the police officers, he would pray for his particular outings when he was getting ready to send somebody out or whatever, and then the people that was in the community would as- be assigned to pray for the things that were going on. And what they found is that uh, more people were getting caught for the crimes that they were committing. Less crimes were actually happening, and that they were like promoting and requesting money so that they can continue to uh, put the word out that it was more crime. I'm sorry, it's more God, less crime. And they had a little pushback still because you have certain skeptics out there that are in the government that don't necessarily agree with the practice of believing that prayer will reduce crime, but it's more studies on it than, like, you have more than two or three witnesses doing this for years. They've been doing it like for over 30 years, just testing this. I think it started in 1990 or so, and this is 2024 at this point. So I think close to, yeah, 30 years doing this, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and see when this article was done, but I do remember me looking into this, and I was curious as to if it would work for me because it was like this particular article. It was like a double blind study, and then they had 50 people in uh, like Texas, and 50 people in New York, and 50 people in another state. And they were all unaware of each other, but they were all praying, assigned to pray for the crime rate to decrease. And it decreased the rapes, the murders, the robberies, just it all dropped. And I think since then, I've been curious as to if I could find more articles or that exact same article. I have not found it yet, but that's the reason how I got to finding these by looking for the other two. I'm sorry, the other one, the specific one that I was looking for. So I generated maybe like three witnesses, three separate uh, websites to kind of support the the idea that if you really need to deal with your fear, and you see things are going on, and you like feeling hopeless or helpless, and you're like, what can I do? I can't stop people from fighting, I can't stop. But in fact, you can. Based on these websites, you can pray for the peace in your neighborhood. You can pray to cover yourself. That was another thing that website that I read years and years ago. It was like, you can pray for a certain radius, like if you want to do a 25-mile radius of your dwelling space, that will cover your grocery stores, banks, gas stations, everywhere that you live locally, to support the police department. Because I lived in an area where I was hearing gunshots too much, and I was like, Father, please reduce the gunshots. I am tired of hearing about hearing sirens going three times a day. It was very unnerving, and that alarm, that fire alarm on that fire truck, those sirens are very. It disrupts my spirit. It disrupts me so almost to the point to where it affects me physically, like almost with this kind of nausea type shaking type. It's not good. It's not good for me mentally, and probably not even physically, to be hearing those sirens. So that's the reason why I chose to pray for my neighborhood, because I believe that it worked. And also, after I did the prayers, I did it for maybe like um just I think it was like 3 months straight. And just requesting different things to happen. And what I would like to say is that I noticed people, they were causing a riffraff, they moved. Some of them got locked up, and other people got evicted. So many different scenarios started happening, and all of a sudden, one by one, I started to experience the actual peace of the neighborhood, and things started to get settled back down to where it previously was. And I was so grateful behind that. And so I'm a testimony within these witness. I mean, to me, it's just absolutely believable and achievable. Um, there's another fear. There's a fear of not having intelligence. Um, in business, you have to anticipate the needs of the customer, or the customer will go away, and they will wonder what's in it for me. And the fantasy is that customers will stay, and you don't have to do nothing. That's the fantasy. Like, I'm gonna keep doing things the way I've been doing it, and the customer, say for instance, you going to um I'll give an example. You going to Wendy's, and you notice they done changed their French fries 3 times. And you asking them what was wrong with the fries before. The reason why I'm coming to Wendy's is because of the fries. Now you're giving me a different type of French fry. Let me go to McDonald's to get those fries because I like those type of fries. That's what I'm talking about. It's like you are changing things based on what the company needs, or uh maybe that wasn't a good example, where you're not changing things for the customer's sake, but you're changing it for the company's sake. And the fear of not having intelligence is you're getting up on stage doing a presentation and you sound stupid. At least you think you sound stupid. Or you're having a fantasy about being the smartest one in the class and your grades don't reflect that. Or you just different fears that's regarding not having the intelligence for business or anything like that. And people's reactions to they can make you feel like you're stupid to kind of confirm that you are. And so that is a real fear that many people have. That's the reason why they don't want to present something that they just learned today, because they believe that they don't have the necessary tools to present their information. And that's the reason why I was like, when you're starting a business and you're thinking, I can't start a business right now because I don't know enough. And if I do start a business with me not knowing enough, then I'll be perceived to be an idiot. So to neutralize that fear is to give yourself enough information before you get ready to present something. You get enough information that you can say, oh, I have a full understanding of it, because it really don't take that long to actually learn something, to be able to repeat it and to share. All you're doing is just sharing information. That's all. That's all. And the other thing is, whatever you do know, you could kind of like get resources to share your authority on it. But no, all of this expert stuff, I'm an expert at blah, blah, blah. I don't like doing that because there's no real need to come off as all knowing. We have a higher power that's all knowing, knows all things, and knows how to, we all have a portion of intelligence. So um with being afraid to become senile or not have enough memory, to be able to do the things that you need to do for yourself, whatever your belief is that's attached to the fear of not having enough intelligence. That's the reason why we would be. But that the solution to that is to continue to read, feed your mind, and also pray and meditate. And the more that you feed your mind, the better of a chance, and also being optimistic, the better of a chance that you will have at having the intelligence that you're proud of, and that you, as long as you're upbeat, you don't have to kind of worry yourself about a future possible of losing the intelligence that you do have. But those are my solutions to that. Another one is a fear of the loss of money, and that's what we're dealing with in real time. hmm We're dealing with that, like what's going to happen to the money, what's going to happen with blah blah blah, and how they're going to change the money and blah blah blah. And I'm like this. I had to analyze. There are different ways to live. What does money do? It helps you to buy things that you need and want. Now, what do we need? We need to have a place to stay. Even if you're homeless, you still need to have a place to stay from the rain, like something over your head to keep you from, storms that can be dangerous. If you know how to build a cob house or some type of mobile home or whatever it is to keep yourself safe, then that covers that need. The other need would be food, and if you know how to forage or grow your food, that will take care of that if you don't have access to money. The other reason that you would need money is for uh, toiletries and other things like that. So there's a way to provide. It's like, oh, I don't want to live like that. It seems like that's homelessness. Well, if you end up in a situation to where you're afraid of being homeless, is my thing is like, find solutions to the problem that's at hand. If you start feeling hopeless and helpless, that's when the real defeat starts to happen. But when you are fighting, no matter what you see happening, then that's when you start to experience some type of relief and bliss. And that's all I'm thinking about. At least for me, I'm looking at, if I can't get access to money, I need to pray, amp up my prayers, and try to also go find solutions mm, to get things to happen. Because I was talking to somebody and they were talking to me about this: whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loose in heaven. So that scripture, I looked it up and I saw all the different versions, and it's like one of them stood out to me: whatever you allow on earth will be allowed in heaven, and whatever you dis this allowing. I allow myself to find ways to have money, and I also allow myself to believe that money can come from sources that I don't have any idea that it could happen. For, like, say for instance, you can have somebody, you can pray for $100. I need $100 to pay my rent. Um, and all of a sudden you'll get a phone call from a friend or somebody that's just able to receive that, and they cash up you $100. Stuff like that has happened to me. So that's what I'm talking about. The fear of money. Just continue to have hope, because hope deferred makes the heart faint. You're gonna be sick if you sit up here worrying about something that I mean, if you got control over it, then do something about it. Find out all the the ways that you can do something about it and make something happen while you're praying about it. Don't just pray and don't do nothing, because faith without works is dead. But if you can't do nothing about it, nothing that you know of, then you can pray for wisdom to find out what ways that you can get knowledge to make something happen in a practical sense, because things are not going to be always just outside of yourself. Even though you may be praying, the prayers are going to be manifest through a person or multiple people. And so going back to, I just did like a screenshot of certain things that this More God Less Crime website was talking about. And it says many assume this cause and effect statement to be true. Others bridle against the idea, claiming that faith does not enhance virtue or attenuate vice. And there, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he lays out the statistical impact on religion on crime, and relying, as he puts it, the differences that you can measure. And that's what I was talking about before. Like, it was reducing crime. And this right here, it says decades of research, decades of research on this. So they did the statistics on this. And people were giving resistance to it, but since it's been since it's been going on for so long, they've been doing research on this for so long, they had to go ahead and let it go through, because it was actually something that people were accepting, and it was actually proving to be some type of miraculous, with results and stuff like that. So um I'm not going to read that. Okay. So the stretching and the exercise to get yourself back into some type of relief with these different fears, phobias, anxieties. Um, the Bible says, be anxious for nothing. And just got to figure out why or how we end up being anxious about some things. Like, um, what type of stretching? Now, what I'm curious about is to um the you'll look up on the internet, and it'll tell you, most times they'll give you like taoism type of meditation exercises to do, or they'll tell you yoga, right? I believe yoga is a religion, and I don't practice certain other cultures things. What I do say is that if you're going to stretch stretch your fantasy over to the other end, where you can go over to a neutral place, where things will be a little bit more over on the nightmare side, but not all the way over there, kind of like in the middle, so you can put your fears to rest. Because when you I was looking at this video, Dr. John D. Martini, and the video was talking about fears and how you can have more of a fantasy on this side, and then your nightmare is over here. And so when you put them in the middle, then you can neutralize it. And that's what I'm suggesting, is that to be able to not be so over on the fantasy side, being in fantasy land, which it kind of goes over into being optimistic. But these are the websites and the tools that I looked into. So it's very interesting on how to balance all of this out. So the key is to understand the risk that you think your nightmare is presenting, but to minimize those risks. So, um, if you're thinking, well, I don't have the money that I need to have, and what is the worst that could happen if I lose my car? My car gets repossessed, and what is the worst that could happen? Then that's the worst that can happen. So you understand the risk. How do you minimize the risk? You can try to pay your car note or whatever it is, just so you can minimize the risk, because the fantasy will be like, oh, I can just pray and somebody's gonna help me pay my bill. But if you have exhausted in your belief and you need this money by uh, in the next day or so, and there's nothing else that you can think of that, or nothing else that came to you as far as knowledge wise on how to keep your car from being repossessed, then the risk is probably going to be that it's going to be repossessed. Now, just having that nightmare come to pass of um, the vehicle being repossessed is like, what is the fantasy about having the car? All of the fantasies that's connected to the car may be like, I can't live without the car. If I lose the car, then blah 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 is going to happen. If I lose the car, then so and so is going to be taking me down this rabbit hole of all the what ifs, and that's going to increase the amount of stress and worry that you'll have by even the notion of losing the fear. But if you can think about certain things that will not be so bad if you were to lose the car, and how you can make adjustments and still get some things done. And this is just one scenario about something simple, losing a car, but just to be able to think, how can I get this done? Or what are the other forms that I can get around and still do what I need to do? What are the other forms of it? There are options. Are you willing to accept those options? That means you're actually being able to accept the risk to minimize it so that you're not afraid of what's coming. And that's why I'm talking about also uh, the news and certain things that's being put out here on social media, to be able to minimize that, because it's a lot of messages of, when I tell you, it's like recession is dire, uh, it's going to happen, blah 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 is going to happen, it's coming tonight, this weather report, this is happening. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing right now? Are you casting a spell? Are you casting a spell to make people afraid? And it's like, what in the world are you thinking about? When you, I know it's catchy because you're seeing the title and stuff like that. I take those messages off my thread when I see stuff like that, because I don't need to see 100 doom and gloom messages within 5 minutes. I don't need to see that. It's the same thing. If it's about what's going on the east side of the globe, and you got 10 YouTubers talking about the same thing, 5 news stations talking about the same thing, and you go on the internet on a particular, and then you see in the news section all of these pop-ups of all of this, the same stuff, the same messages. Then you click your I mean, oh my goodness, that is a lot. How can you neutralize that and calm that stuff down? Well, is it the So what is the reward at the end? I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting no reward for listening at this. I need to calm this down because I can't be at my best with all of this cortisol being released, with me trying to protect myself because I don't feel safe. And it's really killing me. Every single day, I cannot be doing that. I cannot. I will not do that. Okay. And so after I've done some deep breathing, tried to process what's going on with the state of these different countries and the economy and all of these different i- things that are supposed to, like, they previously I felt safe, but now I don't feel safe because of what I'm hearing, right? Or what I'm seeing. I don't feel safe. So that's the I'm just like trying to talk about solutions here. How in the world do you get to the point to where you feel safe? Well, if you can neutralize those type of fears that you're not sure about what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, you're not certain about what's going to happen tomorrow or next year, and you're having all of these future scenarios of these predictions that these financial advisors are predicting, and all of these other people are predicting. They're the expert, right? Oh, I was right the last time. Okay, so you're prophesying, right? That's what you're doing. You're prophesying and you are having a report that you're spreading on the media and you're causing people to believe what you're saying because you're the expert. Okay. So you after you six you could talk to somebody, a therapist, a friend, family member, somebody that can help you with these fears that you got after you done heard all this stuff and you want to talk about it. But sometimes uh these people, family members, you might not be able to exactly give them everything that you feel in because they don't know how to handle what you're experiencing as far as the fear is concerned, or if they do know how to handle it, they may have only a certain amount of they only have a certain amount of advice or time that they have allotted just for you. And they may be inexperienced and may not be able to know what to do with all of your fears. So, what I do is I pray about my fears. I pray about those fears that I I trust the Most High with those fears. That's who I trust. I trust the Most High with those fears and those things that I don't feel comfortable with necessarily talking to somebody day after day, trying to get me to process these fears. That's the reason why I'm going back to meditation, because sometimes when you talk to yourself, you'll eventually get the answer on how to deal with the problem, how to cope with certain things that you might actually need to use a coping practice for, or to give it some resolve. Or some people like me, for most cases I need to have a conclusion of the matter. So if I need bottom line, what is the bottom line to this? How can we get straight to it with solutions on how to be healed of the things that are terrifying, right? Or overwhelming or anxiety producing type things. I'm even panic attacks. Well, how can I get myself some relaxation? And if I can't talk to a family member, or if I can talk to them, how much time can I spend talking about this complaint, right? So I take my complaints to myself, and I ask myself questions. What's going on? How can you deal with this complaint? Is there anything that you can do? If the answer is yes, then I go ahead and execute it if I know that it's an objective that I can actually accomplish. Um, if the answer is no, I'm definitely going to be praying about it, and probably that's when I might talk to a family member or a friend so they can pray with me. hmm Because I do believe that in some regard, I believe problems have solutions. And if the Bible says there's nothing too hard for the Most High to solve, then that's exactly what I believe. I agree with that. I really do. I have hope, full hope in the Most High, and that's just what it is. And so, with that being said, that's how I face the fear. And, I'm going to talk about being exposed to uh, these different fears over time, to be desensitized from it. Like, some stuff is a fear that it's giving you like a pathway so that you can go in another direction, or you can have these fears are giving you messages and telling you, okay, so you might want to go in this direction because I don't feel comfortable or I don't have enough knowledge. That's dealing with the fear of intellect. Go this way so that you can study a little bit more because you don't want to do a presentation because you don't feel comfortable with it because you don't know enough, right? But as soon as you feel like you know enough, then that's when you can go ahead and do the presentation, and you don't have to feel like um all scared. But say you have a fear of public speaking, the more you do it, the the more you expose yourself to public speaking, the more you'll feel like that fear is going down over time. Or even dancing in public, any type of performance, or if you feeling nervous or a little fearful, some dread, because you don't feel like, oh, I didn't prepare enough, then maybe start preparing. And don't take preparing like, oh, I don't have enough time to prepare. If it's a certain if it's just for presentations, then just kind of like prepare, give yourself 30-minute break, an hour break, 2-hour break, then go back to practicing again. And that way, or whatever the time frame that of your comfortability for whatever it is, prepare like that. There's nothing wrong with planning and nothing wrong with preparing. And let's see here. I touched something and it went the other way. Okay, so those problems that you might have, they're not too hard for the Most High to solve. So again, if it's something that you can't do, one of the things that I used to grow up saying as a child is, it was to grant me this the serenity, right? To accept the things that I cannot change, to change the things that I can, and and the wisdom to know the difference. I don't repeat it as much in my adult years, but I was told to repeat that multiple times in my childhood. And so what I learned from that is the things that I can't change, and it's definitely a problem. and I do believe problems have solutions, then pray about it. Pray about it, you know? And I started this topic off initially. I was thinking about we have villains in real life in human form, and I believe these people are demon possessed. I don't think there are no other options. I think they really do have demons. Yep, the goal is to desensitize us to their demonic activity. And many people in the world are having contraction type of experiences where we can feel the events becoming closer and closer together and more uh, like it's squeezing until it gets to this point to where we'll see the most villainous person of all time. And it's been prophesied that that's what's going to happen. In the meantime, how do we prepare? Is prepare, first of all, praying that we don't lose our minds in the process, praying that we can actually maintain morality and knowing how to love our neighbor as ourselves and acting it out. You know, praying that we will have enough food and shelter if we see somebody that's in need of food and shelter during these days, that we're able to provide that for them, and that we have the knowledge on how to take care of ourselves and each other, and that we're not so afraid, and that we can be sensitive in the spirit to know who's on the most high side versus who's on the devil's side, you know. And just this all of this is not in order, and I'm going to get better with presenting over time. I and this is long, so I'm going to break it up, but um the opposite of fear is often considered to be courage or bravery. Fear typically involves a feeling of apprehension, anxiety, or distress in the face of a perceived threat, while courage involves the ability to confront fear, take action, and face challenges despite the presence of fear. So, back some slides ago, I was talking about to confront fear. You confront fear with courage. And so, when you are in a state of being discouraged, you're probably experiencing a form of fear. When you feel like hopeless and what's the use, you probably don't want to be go through the challenge of being brave because you don't want to take action. Usually, when you feel helpless, you believe there is nothing you can do, so you will not take action on anything because you believe there's nothing you can do. But if you cannot do anything in the physical, I do believe you can do something in the spirit realm. I do believe that. So it's challenging when there is a perception that something is imminent and that is definitely absolutely going to happen to you because you've attached that belief. And It's like, how can I lessen the risk of it happening to me when I don't even know who the who the devil has possessed to do these things? Those that conspire against me, and I've done nothing to them personally, but they're so demonic that they got to go ahead and make something happen. It's absolutely wicked. These people are evil. So you fight a spiritual principality with the spirit realm, with the spirit of the Most High. That's what you do. And yes, it does take resilience and strength and determination in the midst of the fear, because sometimes you have to do this day after day, and you might be afraid. You might be thinking, oh, there's a tremendous amount of me feeling unsure about this outcome. High levels of that. But despite the fact that you feel like that, like you're not sure of what the outcome might be, but you still are doing something in a process, that it takes courage to do that. And so um, it's about overcoming obstacles. And let's see here. All right, so I just wanted to give the definition of fear because it's so far into it. Fear is the word we use to describe our emotional reaction to something that seems dangerous. But the word fear is used in another way too, to name something a person often feels afraid of. People fear things or situations that make them feel unsafe or unsure. So that's covering everything that I talked about earlier. You don't know what's going on with the money. You feel unsafe. But people are saying in these uncertain times, that's another way for them saying in these fearful times, right? Or unsure. I'm unsure about it. So you're afraid because it's of the unknown, right? But the Most High is the all knowing. So why not go to the source and ask, what do I need to know about this? What do I need to know if there's a problem of what seems to be dangerous, right? Well, am I going to be bloodied up? And nobody wants to experience well, not many people want to be like unalived in a way that is painful, or what they perceive that's going to be like a disgusting type of demise, right? A very painful and lingering type of demise. They don't want to experience nothing like that. Like, at least let it be um in my sleep or something like that. Not to be taken off the earth by the hands of somebody else in their wickedness, right? So people are afraid all over, and with good reason. With good reason. I'm not saying that there's no reason to be afraid. Fear is something that is natural. What I am suggesting is that Let's look at safety. Free from harm or risk. And we're talking about minimizing the risk. Minimizing the harm, right? Or I'm going to say it in the reverse, maximizing safety. Okay? You're making yourself feel safe. So, how can you make yourself safe and secure from threat or danger? Is meditating on what makes you feel secure from the threat of danger or harm or loss. What are those components? Is it money? Do you need money? Well, what is the strategy on how to get money so you can feel safe again? Or what is the why do you need money? To have a place to stay and blah blah blah, like we talked about earlier. Well, we know that safety comes and you feel secure when you have a house or an apartment or a place to live. You feel safe. um, if you're maximizing safety and minimizing the risk, right, then you'll try to figure out, how can I live in what environment will provide me the most security for the amount of money that I'm making, and the most security for the amount of money if I'm afraid of my money right now, or and it's connected to having a place to stay. That's how you meditate. Meditate on things that will give you closure and to make you like, wow, wow, that knowledge gave me some type of, ooh, I can breathe again. I'm not my breath is not held hostage because I'm not like where I can't breathe because I'm so scared. That type of thing. hmm Um, going to read something, and it's it's a verse in the Bible that says that Yah has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And we need love, power, and a sound mind. So I looked up the definition of sound, and it still goes with being secure. Okay. So to be sound is an adjective. It also means having a sound mind is free from injury or disease. So if your mind is sound, you're free from, you feel safe mentally, right? You feel stable. And I'm going to say, when you have an amount of fear that's pumping out adrenaline and cortisol, you don't feel safe. You don't feel sound. You don't feel stable, right? So when that verse is talking about power, love, and a sound mind, it's really saying it's like you're stable, you're secure, right? You feel safe. So the type of fear that comes, the Most High is not trying to put us in situations where we don't feel safe. If we turn ourselves over to the Most High, the goal is to feel safe. Is to feel safe. So I also looked up love. Love is a strong affection or another arising out of kinship and personal ties. I looked it up and it's also affection based on admiration, common interests. So, um, I've been talking about, well, not talking, well, I don't know, but I've done studies on fear before, and I decided let me do it on a video because, it's something that revisits me on a regular basis and revisits most people. And sometimes we want to give ourselves relief. But going back to this definition, it's the definition of fear, right? It's like you feel unsure, unsafe, unsure. I looked up unsure. This is what I got. Not marked by or given to feelings of confident certainty. Still going back to these uncertain times. You keep hearing uncertain times. You basically saying these fearful times, and you're like, oh, this is real. I can't optimistic my way out of this. I can't optimistic. You have to neutralize it. You have to neutralize it if you want to be free from these uncertain times. Go to the areas what you do know, because all of that fear that's in the body that's invisible is definitely connected to a physical place in your body, multiple physical places in your body, some organs, your heart specifically, probably your colon, your liver, yep, your brain, yep. So it's not good. On multiple levels, it's not good to just have in for fear to come into your body and have a feast, like sitting on the couch in your body, talking to you until you go to sleep, right? Like the whole embodiment of inviting fear in. And it's like, I didn't invite fear to come in. I don't like being afraid. Yep. It came in through your eye gates. It came in through your ears. Yep. And then it just went to your heart and to have a seat. Have a seat. Um, no thanks. You get out. Get out my house. Um, so let's see here. Whew. Um, okay. I'm going to probably, let's see here. I see what's going on. Okay. So with that being said, with all of these different types of fear, um, with the definition of fear and the solutions to fear. My point is that we don't have to continue to just we know what to do now. We know what to do. Yeah, we know what to do. So it's like, okay, when you see something that's like this news report just came on, and it's brand new, but it's still kind of like something that has to do with uh fighting and war, and you kind of like, okay, I know what to do. I know what to do when I hear this now. I know how to make myself feel safe, and I know how to pray, even if I like pray for these other countries, whatever you so choose to do. You want to pray for the situation that's going on over there. You want to pray about um, the safety of your neighborhood. You want to pray about the things that uh, you can do to improve your own personal household economy and things like that. Then you know what to do. And then also meditating to get some answers to just drop into your spirit. And I'm gonna put the link of the videos that I talked about in the description. And that's the bottom line. And so, Father, I just want to say thank you. I thank you for giving me the tools to research to get solutions to fear. There's so many people talking about fear, and fear is a spirit. Fear is invisible. It's an invisible part of ourselves. And so, in order to deal with the invisible part of ourselves, to cure it, it has to be through the invisible realm, the spirit realm. So, Father, I thank you for hope, faith, being able to be courageous, because it's many times that you just said to be of good courage. You might be afraid, but be strong and of good courage. You may see things, you may hear things, but be strong and of good courage. And don't let your hope go. And I thank you for constantly telling us what we can do in order to have an abundant life, to feel victorious in the midst of so much painful situations and things that can go, that we hear and see almost every single day. I'm thanking you right now for your hand of protection. And I do ask you, Father, please protect our families, protect our neighborhood that we live in, protect us from all types of violence and reduce the crime. I'm asking that you allow us to have the wisdom and the knowledge to know what to do when we get feedback from the fears that we're having. I'm asking that you cover us and protect us, Father. I'm asking that you give us the serenity to know what we need to do to be the change, to make change happen. And I'm asking that you give us the wisdom to know the difference on what we can change and what we need to pray about. And I can't thank you enough, Father. Oh, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.